Hey guys, Steve here, and today we're going to be reviewing the movie Lady Bird, written and directed in her solo debut by Greta Gerwig and starring Saoirse Ronan and Laurie Metcalf, among others. The movie is a very touching coming-of-age story about a young, free-spirited teenage girl growing up in early 2000s Sacramento and the pitfalls she deals with in her life, as well as the good things. A little bit of a news snippet here. This movie recently broke a Rotten Tomatoes record. It currently is the best reviewed movie on Rotten Tomatoes with a 100% fresh rating after 165 reviews. I saw this movie before I heard that it broke this record, and after seeing the movie and after hearing that news, I'm really not surprised it broke that record. I kind of am surprised because it's a fairly small film in the grand scheme of things, but it's a very, very good small film. As I mentioned before, this movie is the solo writing and directing debut of Greta Gerwig, and she nailed it. She hit her first movie out of the park. There are a lot of reasons why Lady Bird is a very good movie. First off, I'll get into the performances. Every single performance in this movie is strong. There isn't one person in the movie who is acting badly. And another thing that I have to say about the acting in this movie is that it's very realistic. It's one of those movies where you kind of forget that the actors in it are actually actors. They really seem like real people. Saoirse Ronan is a very good actress in my opinion. She's the person who plays the lead role of Lady Bird, and she really does well with this role. The first time I really took note of Saoirse Ronan was when I watched the movie Brooklyn. Now, Brooklyn was a movie that was nominated for an Oscar for Best Picture a couple of years ago, and she received a nomination for Best Actress in a leading role. And I watched the movie, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, which that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion on movies. But I didn't dislike the movie Brooklyn, but it felt a little Oscar baity. It was one of those movies that felt a little bit like stuff we'd already seen before. Didn't really seem like there was anything truly special about it, except for the performance aspect. And Saoirse Ronan, regardless of what I think of the movie Brooklyn itself, was probably the best thing about that movie because her performance was amazing in that movie. And that was the first time I really took note of her. And I have to say with Lady Bird, I think this performance is actually better than her performance in Brooklyn. She is very, very good at carrying the film on her shoulders. With Lady Bird, she creates a character who is very free-spirited and pretty intelligent, but at the same time, she's very naive and still learning things about life, which is something we can all relate to when we're 17 and 18 years old like she is in the movie. When you have a character like this in the lead role, you have the potential to make it one very annoying character. And Saoirse Ronan does a very good job of not doing that. Pretty much every performance in this movie is really, really good. Of particular note that I will mention other than Saoirse Ronan are Laurie Metcalf as her mother and Tracy Letts as her father. Both of them give really controlled, really good performances that don't seem over the top and seem very realistic. And my comment about how realistic their performances are actually leads me to my next point about how good the movie is and what makes it good. And that's how the story is told in a way that actually makes it for a very realistic coming-of-age story. I kind of want to describe the movie as a roller coaster, but that makes it sound like a really big thrill ride or something like that, which it's not. The movie's pretty slow-moving, but not in a boring type of way. It's slow-paced. But the reason why I want to say roller coaster is that it does not go exactly in the way you would expect a coming-of-age story to go. A lot of coming-of-age stories involving teen girls are strictly romantic love stories. And this movie, even though it does deal with romance a little bit, and I don't even know if I would call it romance, it deals with her first kind of forays into romantic territory, but it doesn't make that the main focus of the movie. Even though the movie goes in many different directions, the huge portion of the movie, or rather, the two main portions of the movie are A, Lady Bird kind of figuring out who she is, and B, the relationship with her mother. And going off of how this doesn't really go in the direction that you'd expect a coming-of-age story to go, the way the movie is structured and the way the screenplay is written is not exactly what you'd see in a lot of coming-of-age movies. Or a lot of movies in general. A lot of movies that you see today in any type of way seem to be structured in a way where they tried to wrap up a bunch of loose ends, and they tried to wrap it up really well and put a little bow on top and completely package your movie really nicely in a way that all fits together. Now, the movie fits together well, but it doesn't feel unbelievably neatly packaged or like it was contrived in any way. It almost seems like a series of short stories of what happened in this girl's life leading up to certain events. And that's honestly one of the reasons why the movie feels pretty realistic, because it doesn't go over the top in the way it does that. It doesn't feel like it's trying too hard or trying to be edgy. But it also, because it follows that kind of loose structure, just slice of life type of thing, because it does that, it really well follows how everyday life goes. Day-to-day life is not structured like a story. Day-to-day life is a bunch of very small vignettes kind of meshed together. And that's what, even though the vignettes are related, that's kind of what this movie feels like. There are scenes that kind of make you want to cry. There are scenes that make you feel really hopeful. There are scenes that are really freaking hilarious. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there is one scene in the movie, or a couple of scenes, but one in particular, involving a substitute teacher who used to do something else, and they're trying to apply that something else to their teaching method. And the way it plays out is freaking hilarious. It was one of the few times where I really almost fell out of my chair laughing in the theater when I saw it. Overall, what I have to say about this movie is it's very well acted, very well written and directed, very stunning debut on the solo end by Greta Gerwig, and I just really appreciated how the movie wasn't terribly neatly packaged. I mean, it's very well done, don't get me wrong. It's just the story didn't seem like it was contrived or really neatly packaged to fit a certain narrative. It's a very simple movie that deals with the things that go on in somebody's life when they're growing up, and I really appreciated how they told the story. Overall, I have to say that this movie is excellent. I do have to admit it's probably not going to be for everybody, and that's fine, but it's a movie that I didn't really expect that I would like, and I really ended up enjoying it. So, honestly, if you get the chance, I'd say go ahead and watch it. Alright guys, that's it for today's review of Lady Bird. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I hope that it was helpful in determining whether or not you want to see the movie. If you haven't checked it out already, my previous review was of the movie 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. If you'd like to, go ahead and check that out, and thanks for watching. Have a good day.